Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collider Podcast, episode 153. I'm Steve Cheetah.
I'm Andy Lewis.
And I'm Rory Summers. You'll notice there's no Sid.
No,
we sacked him.
He removed himself from the podcast by going on holiday.
So, happy
Basically,
holiday,
he's been
Sid.
sending us photographs from all the days. He's been sending us photographs of his beer he's been drinking in York, his trip to Travelling Man in York, and all the beer he's been drinking in interesting bars.
Yeah, should we just have a really fun podcast? I almost called it a fun lesson then.
Lesson?
Like I'm suddenly a teacher. Let's have a really fun lesson.
Mr. Summers, can I go to the toilet, please?
Oh, no, let's move on. Let's just talk about board games.
Fine, but I'll sit and jiggle. Because I can't get a hall pass.
Mr. Summer, Andy's wet himself again.
Again?
What have I started? What have I started?
Oh, that's like that line in Deadpool and Wolverine. And you soiled yourself while you were unconscious. I wasn't unconscious.
Still haven't seen that yet. I need to get back to that.
It's okay.
Well, a public service announcement, which is going to be too late by the time this episode comes out. But this Saturday, so yesterday, if you're listening to this on the day it releases, was National Cinema Day, where all cinemas were charging £4 to go see any film.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I'm off to the NEC at the weekend. I'm going to go see Alien Romulus in the IMAX.
I have seen it.
So is Sid, apparently. I'm about the only person who hasn't seen that as well, then.
It's worth seeing. I won't ruin
Sid
it for
said,
you, Rory.
as an Aliens RPG fan, he said he really enjoyed it. He said it reminded him of Charity of the Gods a lot.
Yeah, I was actually reminded of Alien Isolation from it as well. And apparently, the director tried to capture the feeling of the computer game and a couple of other things. So that makes sense. But I will say, to its credit, it really does capture the feeling of Alien. The sets, the cinematography, it's all practical. Most of it's practical effects as well. From that point of view, it's superb. Very absorbing. It feels like you're in an Alien film.
The trailer looked very good. I saw the trailer when I went to see Deadpool Wolverine. And I'm not... Yeah. I enjoy Alien. I really enjoy Alien. I'm not a huge fan. But that trailer came on and it was like, that looks good. That looks like another level. I mean, far away from things like... Was it Prometheus?
Yes.
With Idris Elba. And then what was the one after Prometheus that they did?
Covenant.
Covenant, which was just dreadful.
I maintain Covenant is a very good film, but a rubbish story.
No, you're wrong on both counts.
I am adamant that the actual film, the actual cinematography, the way the rhythm of the beats work in, the scene when the body burster comes out, when the first alien comes out, I think is an amazing horror scene. And there's mystery that goes with it. The problem is the writing is nonsense. So kind of falls apart because of that.
It is nonsense. Writing, characterization, story, plot, tempo. It's just a turd of a film. It really is. It's just atrocious.
But to spin it around, right? Steve, you famously, in my mind, famously have a link between the Alien universe and the Red Dwarf universe, and I can never remember what it is, and whenever I Google it, I can't find it. So if you can put it down in episode 153, I'll know I can come back to it next time I forget.
Oh, I've forgotten what it is now.
Oh, cock.
Oh, it's the captain.
Yes.
It's the captain.
Hollister.
Yeah, Captain Hollister. It's the same actor who played the base commander in Aliens, who's like the civilian sort of... colony leader.
Yeah, colony leader LE-426.
That's the one.
Sorry, is this from Alien, is it?
Aliens.
So it's in the Alien Special Edition as well. It's not in the official release. It's in the Special Edition release. And there's a whole bit where, is it Last Hope, the colony on LE-426? They keep going to him to ask about, because they get given the coordinates to go find the alien ship. And yeah, it's basically Captain Hollister from Red Dwarf in exactly the same role. It's not even. He seems to even be wearing the same. I was going to say
he's wearing the same kit. Yes.
It really does look like he'd walked off the Red Dwarf set one day, straight into the Prometheus set.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, it's true. What's his name? Mac McAllister, I think his name is.
Yeah, which is apparently not unusual because isn't it like So apparently Daniel Craig, well, not say apparently, once you know you can work it out, Daniel Craig is in The Force Awakens as one of the Stormtroopers.
Yes, yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah, because they were filming James Bond quite literally next door to The Force Awakens.
Oh, right.
And when they had to break in his schedule, so you he's in a Stormtrooper outfit, so you don't see his face, but once you know to listen to it, you hear his voice straight away.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
He's the one, doesn't he? Is he like releases
He's the one
her?
that Rey's... Yeah, he's the one that releases Rey, yeah.
Okay. See, that means I'm now going to rewatch that bollocks.
Just go onto YouTube, you'll find it on there.
I will. I might just do that shortcut.
Just look for Daniel Craig Stormtrooper, it'll come up straight away.
Yeah, that's a better way.
Andy has to watch The Force Awakens again.
Star Wars, Another New Hope. Yeah.
Speaking about scary things, Andy.
Yes.
I heard you went to Manchester.
Yes, terrifying, in fact. Terrifying.
That was a really bad... I'm sorry, people of Manchester, it's not scary, just...
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
You were in Manchester?
I was in Manchester.
Oh, I didn't realise it was in Manchester.
Yeah, Manchester. You don't get an accent like this. And which is timely because Oasis have reformed, so there you go. There's a nice showbiz link for you. That was terrible, wasn't it?
We can add that to the show notes now, can't we?
Yes, we can. No, I was in Manchester a couple of weeks ago now, it would have been, for Airecon North West, which is the first time I've been to that one. So that is now... In fact, this year will be the first time I shall have completed the holy trinity of Aircons, because we've done Harrogate, we've done Manchester, so now we need to do Telford in I can't do Telford accent, in October. Yeah, so that should be good. So I've done Harrogate and Telford before, but this is the first time I've been up to Airecon North West. So it's held in the Manchester Central Arena, I think it was, some bloody great conference facility basically. It's next to what looks like it used to be a station, but obviously some major renovations and changes have happened. So it was all in there. It was very nice actually. It was one dirty great room, air conditioned, surrounded by curtains. So it was very quiet. Because there's so much muffling around because of all the curtains, it was really quiet and very peaceful. I
didn't realise it was in Manchester because that weekend, or while you were there, I was in Chester.
So I was very far away.
I was less than an hour away from you. I didn't even realise it. Actually,
should have turned up.
We were closer when you were at Airecon than we are right now.
That's probably true, actually. Yeah, Jesus. They had tickets as well, as I discovered when I got there. And Alora then announced, "Oh yeah, I haven't bought you a ticket." Oh, thanks, great. Because when she was ordering them, I just kind of assumed she was going to buy both, but no. So I had to stump up for my own ticket. How very dare she? But which was fine. It was good value. And they had loads left, so it was absolutely fine. It wasn't as full or as mad as the Harrogate one, because that's obviously quite intense for 3 days. But there was always space. It was more like Tabletop Scotland than anything else, I think. Quite sedate, quiet, relaxed, plenty of space, lots of avid gamers. A little bit of a sort of show, sort of some stands on the side, one of which was Element Games. And as predicted, I failed to resist buying things there.
Go on, what'd you buy?
I bought 3 pots.
3 pots of gunk.
So rough terrain as recommended. So neutral rough terrain as recommended by the chap there. I bought muddy ground and I bought wet ground. So because I'm making a bunch of stuff for...
I have the muddy ground. It's very good.
Yes, they do look now. They smell very funky.
They are a bit weird in the smell, yes.
Yes, they are. I also bought some AK brown puddles, which is the guy was going nuts about. He says they're very, very good.
I'm sorry. Did somebody sold you some puddle water?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes.
Say no more.
Puddle water. And also some rust. So dry rust sort of...
Oh, a bit of dirty down rust.
Dirty down rust, yes.
Right. You know the hint for using that, don't you?
Heat it up.
Heat it up and shake the absolute buggery out of it.
Yes.
Because there is a ball bearing in there.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It's that thick. If you shake that now, you won't hear it. You've got to shake it for about 20 minutes before the ball bearing starts moving.
Well, fortunately, Andy has a bottle shaker right next to his desk.
I do. It's on my desk, in fact.
On your desk. Yeah, don't put it on now, though. We're doing a podcast, Andy.
Too late. So, yes, I bought some stuff. I was tempted to buy a lot more stuff, but I thought, no, that would be foolish.
But more importantly, Andy, what did you play? What would you say your top 3 games are of that weekend?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Top 3.
Sky Team. After you two recommended to me,
Told you.
Superb, really superb.
And if you haven't heard how great this game is, listen back to episode 151, 152.
The last one. It was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is the previous one. So yes, and it was 20. Yeah, I got it from just Travelling Man were there. They have an outlet in Manchester, so obviously they were there. So the friendly chaps there sold me a copy of that for I think it was £28, which is pretty good for you.
Less than a takeaway for 2. Just saying.
Depending on where you go, but yes. Certainly when I eat, because I'm a fat bitch. But
I mean like proper food.
Yeah, fair. Sky Team was very, very good. Very compelling. I sat down and played 3 games in a row of that with our friend James and Helen, and we got to the point where we were literally 1 die away from landing the plane, and we still managed to crash into the tower. But never mind. It is superb, genuinely. Steve and Rory weren't bigging it up too much. It is very compelling and very good and very straightforward, so it's really quite cool. I really enjoyed Shackleton Base, although I was rubbish at it. That was good, which I quite enjoyed.
Were Hachette there? They were. So you got.
I got a demo from the man himself, Flavian.
Fabian. Oh right, okay, from Flavian.
Yeah. So it was good to see him running around in a spacesuit. What else did I play that was really quite good? I got introduced to Colt Express, and, well, I did not take...
Oh, is that the first time you played Colt Express?
It is, yeah.
Is it the last time you'll play Colt Express?
No.
No, okay.
But I need to recover, because in the very first round of the game, I was shot 4 times. 4 times!
I can believe
I felt just they were being vindictive. They said, well, we didn't mean it. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, what else did I really enjoy? Actually, Pray Another Day went down very well. I quite enjoy that.
So what's Pray Another Day?
Pray Another Day is a very simple, very light card game where you receive 5 aminals of varying degrees of predator. So you start off with a bear, and then number 2 is a wolf, I think, and then the second one is a lemur. Sorry, the third one's a lemur. The fourth one is an owl, and the 5th one is a mouse. And the idea is that you each play a card face down in front of you, and you go down the tree in order from bear to mouse. And if you've played one of those things, then you reveal it. So you start with a bear, and everyone's played a bear will reveal the bear. If only one person has revealed that animal, then they get to choose one other type of animal below them in the food chain, and that basically represents a hunt. So anyone who's played that in front of them must turn it over, and basically they've been hunted and they're out of the round. And each round consists of 3 hunts. So this reveal is a hunt. If 2 people turn over the revealed animal, so you go both 2 people have say gone for bear, for example, nobody hunts because the animals basically can't decide on who hunts what. So anyone below them in the food chain survives, and then you go down to wolf and then lemur and so on and so forth. So if you played a mouse and you survive, they're worth 5 points. So at the end of each round, if you've survived and there's more than one survivor, the person with the most points or animal value wins, and they get a couple of food tokens. You do 3 rounds, and you keep going basically, 3 hunts per round, and you keep going until someone's got 5 food, basically 5 points, and that's it. It's really simple, but very effective.
It sounds like it fits into that that realm of games like The Mind.
It's and almost those lemur.
You have to do that. It's not even social deduction. It's like silent, unknown, bluffing, guessing type of stuff.
Yes, it absolutely is.
You've got that psychological level above the game.
Yeah. There is a little bit of logic to it in once you get to a specific point. But you can kind of work out what might be next given what's come out. But that's very specific to certain situations.
And can I ask a question? If you were the only one playing a bear against me and Steve, you'd pick wolf and I was wolf, would you then take my wolf card and I'm out?
No. You're just out of the round. So that's it. You're done.
Round.
Yeah,
right,
you just
okay.
You don't get the cards. That's you dead.
So every round you always have all 5 cards.
Yes, you start. Well, no, you start the first round with all cards. You start each round with all your cards, but after each hunt, you have to play a different card. So you slowly whittle them down. So if you go all in with, like bear in the first one, you won't be able to play the bear next.
You'll never be able to play your bear for the next or for the rest of the game?
For the round. So you get 3 hunts in a round, so that's basically you play 3 cards. So then at the end of each round, you get your cards back. And that's it. It's really straightforward, but so clever. And yeah, there is a little bit of logic. There's a little bit of, as you say, psychological stuff. It's like, well, if I play the owl, it's not the mouse. Most people are probably going to go for the mouse. But then the person hunting it knows that. And you think, oh, do they go for the owl? Do I go for the mouse? Which one are people more like? And it does get into that. And it's quite fun. So that went down really well. We played that loads, actually. So yeah, there you go. We actually played quite a lot. It was one of those conventions that were quite rare that we actually got quite a lot of games played. So start at 10 o'clock in the morning, finish at 10:30 at night. We were there literally all day, every day, from open to closing. So it was really good, really compelling. And just across the plaza outside was the Vocation Brewery Food Hall, which was particularly good.
So how did you get 12 hours of gaming in a day?
It might have been 11.
10.
10.
9.5.
No, yeah, 8 maybe. But yeah, we did pop across there for some lunch and dinner. So yes, it wasn't 100% game time. But they did have quite a nice Korean place in the hall itself. We did pop across the road for... they had Korean, Japanese, American, Italian, Indian, all of these sort of kind of street food places.
Very
and
nice.
A particularly nice craft ale bar. So I would have quite happily stayed in there all weekend, but we were there to play games. So I thought, I'd better go back across the road. Plus, after 2 pints of heavy porter, I thought, I'm getting quite drunk here. But no, it was good. Airecon North West was very, very good. And it was nice to see folk from the community again. Saw Frank West again, and he was there not touting any games. He was there as a boring civilian like us, which he was quite
was he
taken
not even
aback at.
showcasing his new one?
Oh, he totally was, yes. Everleaf, I think, is it called? Yes. Which, obviously, we got a preview of at Airecon this year, actually. I think it was this year.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this properly because we didn't really reveal it at the time.
That's
I didn't
true.
think we were allowed to talk about it.
We weren't.
Yeah, I'm not even sure we're allowed to talk about it now, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, it's out now. We know what it's called. So, but it has changed quite a lot since we played it. So it would be unfair of us to actually talk about the version we played.
Right, fair enough.
I haven't played the new version, the sort of release version, so I can't really comment. But I'm told that the distance between all the clearings and stuff has changed, and the artwork's slightly different and stuff. So
I'm sure there's a clause in the NDA which means we can talk about it, because if it's changed that much.
yeah, I don't know, but I say I can't talk about it too much because Frank has told me it has changed, and so we probably haven't played something that's representative entirely of it. So, and I still think it's probably undergoing a few changes. I can't remember what stage it's at now. But anyway, I haven't played it, so I can't comment.
So, shall we talk about some games that we can talk about?
Yes!
Why not? Shall I kick things off with a bit of, well...
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
I was going to... Well, I don't know what's worse, your link or mine. We mentioned Oasis earlier, so let's do a bit of rock music.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I think one... I don't know which one's worse, actually.
You're both as bad as each other.
Me and Rory have been playing, and I always get this name wrong, it's Draft and Write Records from Inside Up Games.
That is the correct name because the box
the
is
correct
behind me and I've copied it down.
So I keep wanting to call it, like, Rock and Write Records or something like that, or Rock and Roll Records, because it's a kind of a roll and write, but it's not roll and write.
Rock and
this
roll
is not
and
a
write.
roll and write.
It
is a draft and write game. So rather than your roll and write, it's a draft and write. So the basic premise is similar to your roll and write games. You have a sheet of paper with all kinds of things you can cross off in it. Piece of advice: don't use the pencils that come with the game. Use a pen because the pencils are rubbish and you can't see them on that soft ass paper. It's like the shit toilet paper you used to get at camping sites. Try to colour in on that.
Look,
Oh, come on. We played the first game and all three of us were swearing at the coloured pencils.
I immediately went home and bought some felt tips and some mini Sharpies, just to make it. Because
Wow.
I suppose Steve's going to get into this, but the really interesting thing about this game is that it is all colour coded as well. You're not just crossing stuff off, you're colouring stuff in, and the colour you use is quite important. And one of the problems we found was that the pencils just weren't really popping on that paper.
Is this the kind of game that I would struggle with?
I don't think so because they were primary colours.
Oh, okay. So just red, yellow, and...
I think you'd more struggle at sort of draft and write than it's...
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not off to a bad start at that point. You've probably got a point there, Steve, yeah.
So it's a draft and write, and what that means is rather than rolling dice and applying the result like you would in the roll and write, it is a drafting game. So you get given a hand of cards, you pick one to play, and you pass the deck round. Of course, with order changing between rounds. What makes this game slightly interesting? Well, there's several things that make it interesting, but I think one of the things I quite liked is you have objectives, which are public objective cards that go in the middle of the table, and your objectives yourself. So if you're familiar with a roll and write game, of course, what you're doing is crossing off things on your piece of paper. And usually what happens is they're chained, so you cross off X, which gives you allowed to cross off Y, and so on and so forth. So trying to pick what you cross off to change as much other stuff going on is the aim of the game here. You have several basic areas. The most obvious one that you can work out is a tour. So you actually have a little map that goes around the world with several branches on it, and you cross off places to say you're going on tour to different places. You get bonuses when you get to particular places. You've got your albums and singles, which are just a little track at the top, which are cassettes and records, which it's a very simple track, and the way they're scored is very simple. Then you've got a couple of grids, and one grid is based on symbols. One grid is based on symbols you can only unlock from other places, and then one grid is just another grid. And now explain like this, it's 3 different grids, one of which you get stuff for finishing lines, and the other one you get stuff for connecting 2 points next to each other, and you'll get a bonus that's between them. And the last one unlock stuff by getting different things, but they're not the interesting ones. They're boring grids. They're pretty normal. The interesting one is your band and your crew. So the centre of your sheet is made up by a band which has a lead singer, musicians, roadies and production crew. And where you need the coloured pencils is when you assign a band member, so you can only assign one lead singer and the rest are limited. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head.
I think it's 1, 3, 3 and 3.
Yeah. When you do that you get 4 colours around them, and you colour in the circles around their place on this little diagram with those respective colours. Then when you place another member of the crew, if you can match up the colours, it unlocks one of the bonuses below.
It's called a harmony because those colours are in harmony with one another. It's brilliant.
It's also really frustrating because it's a draft game, and what will happen is you will never find the roadie or the production crew member you need to do the harmonies you want, and you will swear. Or what you'll do is they've also got points, so they score you lots and lots of points, and so you can get multipliers for them, but you get them later in the game. So what you'll do is you'll get the great lead singer, which gives you 4 points, which is a lot, and then find it doesn't harmonise with anything else you can find in the freaking deck. There's a couple of penalties in the game, so if you don't fulfill your entire crew, you lose points, and there are certain cards, if you're left with the end of the round, you lose points. But as I said, the interesting thing is this harmonies like grid and the objectives. So the objectives will be like, score 2 multipliers, and you'll get bonus points for doing that. And the game ends when so many of these objectives has been scored between you. Which
makes like the end game of this really interesting, because you could race ahead and you've got 5 of the 6 necessary done because you've just been lucky or clever to box them all off. But you don't want to trigger the end game because you don't want to pick up all the negatives because you haven't completed your band. Because anything that's blank, any spaces in your band that are blank is a negative penalty. So you go, right, I'm going to win. I've scored all these points here. They're quite low scoring objectives. And then I'm going to pick up a load of negatives. So you need to slow it down. And so I think the tempo of the game can be quite interesting here.
So is it any good?
I have enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this probably more than other verb and write games.
Verb and write.
You've got roll and writes, flip and rights. What else is there? I don't know. But yeah, verb and write. Yeah.
Verb and write.
Yeah.
So I've played flip and rights. I've played roll and writes, and they are not my normal favourite type of game. I did enjoy this. I found it thematically easier to really plug into. Like getting the harmonies between the bands, it all made a bit more sense. Going on tour made sense. Doing the publicity stuff, which is one of the things, although it's just you just marking off icons. It all kind of made sense, and I think that's what I really enjoyed about the game. But it's not really one for me. The biggest problem I had with this game is that with a draft game, I'm always conscious of what my opponents are doing in a draft. So take Seven Wonders as an obvious example. I'm going to be conscious of what cards I'm going to hand to you, Andy, or to you, Steve. I'm going to be looking at your board, your play area, going, I can't give Andy this card. But that's a lot harder to do in a draft and write, because your sheet is actually very busy, and I'm not looking at it the right way up. It's quite small, and that's one of the things I didn't like about the draft mechanism. You really need to be very cognizant of what your opponents are doing, and that's really hard to do in this. Right, you end up being a bit more insular. And if you're being insular, it's kind of, what's the point of having the draft if I'm being insular?
So you'd prefer it to be like a sort of multiplayer solitaire rather than the draft?
It's not that I wouldn't prefer it. It's the style of the game means that the draft part of it kind of gets lost unless you're all sitting on a really small table.
Yeah.
Right, okay, sure.
It's just really difficult to see what your opponents are doing. So it's difficult to kind of do the hate draft or prevent draft kind of thing of, well, I don't want to give this to Rory because that'll make him score lots of points. Yeah. So what's happening instead is you're just doing what you want to do. So it becomes that, and it's like, well, why am I doing the draft then?
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying it's not that they don't work well together. It's just it's an odd mix of two mechanisms. Like I said, most verb and rights, you roll these 4 dice or you flip over those 5 cards, and all 3 of us have to make choices to make the most efficient choices, and we're all even. This doesn't have that because my hand of 7 cards is different to your 7 cards. So we're not having that conflict that you would normally get in a verb and right, and you're not having the conflict you would normally have with a draft game. It is an interesting mix. For me, I struggled with it, but I think that's more that I don't really jazz with verb and right games generally. To be honest, I quite like the idea of them, but I'm rubbish at them. I just always lose verb and right games. I'm just rubbish at them. I don't see, like when we've played this, Steve and Adam, who we played against, have just done so significantly better than me in the score, and I'm just like, I don't know how you did that. I just don't get it. I thought I did really well there, and then you've got triple my score.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with Rory. What it does interestingly. It's got an interesting twist on some of the kind of, as you say, verb and right genre. The harmonies thing's quite good, and I do like the theme. So it does mean at least the theme does add a little bit of something to me, because it kind of makes a little bit of sense. But I mean, it does abstract after a point, because of course, at the end of the day, you're crossing things off a sheet of paper. But yeah, it's good, but again, doesn't blow me away because it's a verb and right game, and we were never lovers of these games in the first place. I would happily play it again, though. It's relatively quick. I mean, it's not super quick like some of these games. It's not like 10 minutes. It is more like half an hour, 3/4 an hour for a game.
It's a bit more like Paper Dungeons from Alley Cat. Then it's a bit longer. I think you should probably play that if you haven't. That's one of the only ones I've found that I actually quite enjoy.
I've played that, yeah.
The more I think about this game, the more I actually like it, but I am just rubbish at it. Like the objectives, these objectives, they're never like huge scoring cards. And obviously, once you get 6 of them, you end the game. But you've got this little bit of race. Can I get a radio show and a talk show in the same round? Cross those 2 off, brilliant. I can score that. That's 3 points. I've robbed it of somebody else. There's a nice little race which really does give you a focus to how to play, and they flip over and turn quite quickly as well, especially in the bigger games. But it plays a lot of players as well. It goes up to 7, I think.
Yeah, most roll and rights or verb and rights do really. It's one of the, I suppose, one of their advantages. You've got a bunch of folk who can't decide what to play at the end of the night. Let's just play a quick 10-minute game. A verb and right is probably, it's certainly something that Alora tries to throw out.
I think if you're looking for that type of, we've got an hour left, there's a few of us left over, this is a really great shout, because I think the theme is very engaging, and I think the theme ties in really well. It's really quick and easy to teach, and it's an engaging game. It's a fun game, But I say it's just probably one that's just not for me personally. Yep, okay. So that was Draft and Write Records from Inside Up Games.
Let's move on to something very different. We've played quite a bit of Arcs over the last few weeks, which is a bit of a darling at the moment. This is from Leader Games. Arcs, it looks like a typical strategic dudes on a map space game.
Yeah.
You have space laid out in front of you. You have your regions of space spread out into arcs. You have warp gates going in between them. You have planets on which you can build cities and spaceports, and each planet has a resource you can get from that planet. You have lots of little shiny ship meeples that you can go around blasting the enemy into the smithereens.
So it's Eclipse then, yeah?
On the face of it, it looks a lot like Eclipse, Twilight Imperium, all those kind of games. But it is not. It works so differently in so many ways that it's a completely different game. So I'm going to go a bit arse backwards on this. I'm going to describe scoring first, because I think that's important. Because in this game, you score points for ambitions. To score however, each round, only 3 or up to 3 ambitions can be chosen. And it's up to the players to choose those ambitions by playing a particular card when they play the cards, which we'll get to in a minute. This means that every round the scoring will be different. You'll be scoring for different things, and they're basically how many ships you've destroyed in combat, how many agents you've captured by grabbing cards, or one of 3 different resource objectives you can get. Amassing a load of ships in your trophy section of your board is not enough to win the points. You also have to make sure, of course, that ambition has been selected. So, the game itself, however, is where this game is very weak. It's effectively trick-taking. You place the first player places a card down which sets the suit and the value. Then everyone then has to either surpass, copy, or pivot. Now, surpass is basically follow, so you have to place a card of the same suit but a higher value. You can copy, which is you basically put a card face down and copy the base actions of the first card, or you pivot, which is you play any other action card and you get the action there. What's interesting here is the cards have also got pips on them that go the opposite way to the numbers. So the low numbers have lots of pips and the high numbers have very few pips. So if you can follow, if you can surpass, you'll get loads more actions. And if you can surpass, you will also take the initiative for next round. Not just allowing you to choose what action to do first, but also allowing you to declare the ambition, which allows you to score points.
Yeah, because you can only grab an ambition if you lead, and that's very important.
Yeah. This means that at no point in the game can you actually do what you want to do unless you're leading. And even then, you're hampered by the cards in your hand, because you can guarantee they're not what you want, because they're random.
You're entirely correct.
Which makes for a very interesting game. So you've got 2 different factors actually fighting each other here, I think. You've got that card system, which allows you to, the cards have multiple actions on each card. So, like, aggression allows you to move and attack and secure the guild cards, which is where your agents are sitting on. You've got influence that allows you to do, like, building and influence and taxes. So each card does multiple actions. So you've got choices, but you can guarantee that what you want to do is not what you can do. But you've also got to have the right card in your hand with the ambition you want to score and be the leader to be able to put that down. And they also go in descending order. So the first person to assign an ambition gets the highest scoring one, and then so on and so forth. What this results in my opinion, is a very difficult game to do well in because you constantly have to pivot. You cannot have a strategy at the beginning of the game and stick to it. Instead, what you have to do is constantly try and move it's like a big tanker. You're trying to move this tanker of a game towards the objectives you want to score, or do the actions you want to do to score the objectives.
That's a fascinating analogy. That is really good.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
It felt like trying to move a little tanker. I mean, there are other things to add. I've mentioned the guild cards. So guild cards are gained by your influence by putting your agents on there, and then you can grab them when you have more agents than anyone else on the card. Guild cards are really good. They add loads of special abilities, each one completely unique, but they also act as a resource when you're counting up how many resources you've got for the ambitions, so they're really good to get. There's also a kind of a semi-add-on, but I think this is the way the game's meant to be played, which is the Law and Leaders cards. So leaders basically give you completely asymmetric factions with different starting units, also give you a strength and a weakness, and the law generally gives you a strength. So you get 2 strengths and 1 weakness. I'd hazard to say that the laws and leaders don't feel very balanced, but they're not random. You choose them as part of a draft. So you do have options over what you do, and there's always one more card than the number of players. So you always have an option. But I mean, we've played a handful of games, but I feel as if this might be one of those games that after 2,000 people have submitted things to leader games, whether some of them will be adjusted or not, because some of them felt really powerful, and some of them were like, well, I can use that in this unique situation. I'm not sure if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think it's got the kind of Eric Lang imbalance where it's up to the players to balance the game, or is it different?
No, I think because you've got the choice of the draft, you've always got the choice of not taking one of the cards. The problem becomes when you are the last 2 cards left and you're choosing between 2 cards that you think are shit.
Yeah, the 2 cards that no one else wants,
basically. I don't know what you
sure.
could be referring to there, Steve.
And the problem is, without playing the game 100 times and keeping logs of which cards wins every time, it could be just the thing that some of these cards, they're more difficult. Maybe they need to get difficulty on them or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the asymmetric powers do in, say, Twilight Imperium. Twilight Imperium actually puts a complexity rating on the faction and says, well, don't take this unless you really know how to play Twilight Imperium.
They do that in Roots, though, as well. And I do agree. There were some cards that we've seen that were like, actually, they were shit because they didn't really play to the way I've been playing the game or my familiarity of the game. They are quite specific to these situations, but then I didn't do anything to try and create those situations because that's my familiarity with the game. So I had one of the powers I had was I only used once, whereas Adam and Steve's powers you would use in every round. But I did nothing to try and make sure that scenario came into play because it didn't really follow with the way I like to play the game, or because of my familiarity with it, I didn't know how I could go about creating that situation. But I think Arcs is a fascinating game. I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
I think there is the full array of a human emotion available on that table for an hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, there were moments when we played last night where I was happy, I was elated, I was excited. There were other moments where I was very, very sad and very, very angry and very, very frustrated.
To put this into context, Andy, Amanda came in halfway through our second... No, we just finished the first game. So we played 2 games last night, actually. The second game, we managed to play a game in 1 hour. 3-player game of Arcs in 1 hour. So once you know what you're doing, this game can go pretty damn quick.
Yes.
We came in, we just finished the first game, and Amanda said, I took it Rory lost then. I'm like, why? She goes, because all I've heard for the last 2 hours is Rory complaining.
I was not happy, okay? Things didn't go well for me in that game at all, at any point.
Oh dear.
Now, I've played this a handful of times, and I think it's a genius design.
Really?
I do. I think it's a really, really clever design because of this, trick taking and the ambitions both together means that you are constantly balancing this ridiculous adaptive puzzle. It's not like a Euro game where you plan your turn 5 turns in advance and go, right, I'll get that resource, I'll convert it there into that, I'll get that contract, I'll win that. No, this is a game where you've got to balance about 200 things at once, and I think someone with like a card counting style memory, you can remember what cards have been played, you can be really good because you're going to be able to play cards knowing what other people have done. And but people that can calculate all these iterations in their head can be really good. I think it's a really clever design. I still can't decide if I like the game.
I'm in that position as well, but go on.
But I want to play it like another 5 times to work out if I like it or not. It's the puzzle isn't tricky. I would caveat we haven't played this 4-player.
I was going to ask you what player counts you played it at. Okay.
We played it 3. We played
Right.
it 3, and we haven't played it 4. And the reason I say that is because there's a couple of slightly different mechanics at 4-player. There's a slight different variation in the way a couple of cards work, and of course you get more cards in the deck. So I think there's a subtle difference there. I'd like to see how much this changes, because it feels like the game is designed for 4-player and then has been pared back for 2 and 3.
I would probably agree with that, because I've played it at 2-player, and I'm not going to lie, it's fucking bollocks. Only because...
I wasn't expecting that, but then...
It doesn't work at 2.
Yeah, a lot of leader games struggle at the lower play at a 2-player, don't they?
To be fair, most leader games are 4-player games, aren't they? You can tell they're designed to be 4-player games.
I'm kind of like with you, Steve, on the I'm not sure if I like it or not. Because I played it yesterday with Alora as a 2-player game, and it's functional, but it doesn't have much interaction, which I think is the problem at 2.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Because you're basically on just completely opposite sides of the board, and very rarely do the twain meet. The only time we ever met, really, was when Alora invaded my territory.
Yeah, that's the opposite to the problem we've had, is that I do really badly at this game because I interact too much. Because it's taken me a few games to get out of the mindset of going, this is a war game. Because you put it on the table, it looks like a space war game. I've got, as Steve said, I've got space, I've got planets, I've got these gates, I've got these territories, I've got all these ships, I've got cities, and it looks like a war game. And that's the way I approached it. And I just went on this. The first game, I just went on a killing spree, which
then didn't go for the warlord attainment.
That's just the problem. No one took the warlord ambition until round 3.
What?
So, exactly.
That's it. I was killing stuff, but never. It took me ages to get the initiative to be able to get the warlord ambition. And then at that point, well, right, okay, Rory's won that one. It was brilliant. I got 5 pigging points for like
3 rounds worth of work.
Steve and Adam can't put any more ships out because I've destroyed them all, and I get 5 pissing points. But that was my fault, and that was a learning of the game. But I treated this game like a war game, and I wanted to go. I went out there and attacked, and even when we played it yesterday, and as much as Amanda was saying, that I was moaning about it because the dice were not very nice to me either.
Sorry, you've just reminded me of something that Laura said to me last night when I started a fight, or rather a counter-attack against her. You're so fucking lucky with the dice. Basically, a shitload of red dice, blah, 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 and decimated her entire fleet. She was not impressed.
It's probably worth us mentioning the dice as well, because of course there is a war game kind of fundamental to this, and when you attack, you quite literally just roll as many dice as you have ships, well, fresh ships, which are basically undamaged ships. But you get 3 choices of dice. Yeah. You get the blue dice, which are the safe dice, which is basically a 50-50 chance of causing a hit. You get the red dice, which are the risky dice. More chance of doing damage, but you take damage back. And if you're attacking a city, or have a special ability, you can use the orange dice, which allows you to raid and steal stuff from your opponent. And every time Rory used to have the red or orange dice, he took more damage than he gave out.
Oh dear.
Particularly any time I touched an orange dice, I ended up losing.
He never stole the damn thing the entire game.
Didn't see that. Always just got mullered. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And because of the way the order of things goes, well, that's it. I'm dead before I've done any damage. Great.
I have to
it was
admit,
dead before you stole anything.
Before I stole anything, sorry.
Yeah.
I did. That is one element of the game that I really did quite like. Is the you choose your own destiny when it comes to a fight. That I liked. I liked that a lot, actually.
And it was interesting watching the difference between Adam and Rory. Because Rory would always choose the red dice, and Adam would only ever choose the blue dice.
Yes.
So, and then I was doing a mixture of the two. I was going, let's have 1 red and 2 blue.
Yeah, that's how I approached it.
A bit of randomness, but a bit of a stable backdrop to it.
Exactly right. You need a good bedrock, but at the same time, you need to kind of go for it, because you're never going to win the Warlord token by choosing blue dice. You're just not. You need to go a bit harder. But of course, you don't want to go too hard because your fleet might get destroyed. It's that I liked.
Yeah, and that's it. I think it's interesting that at 2-player you didn't have that level of interaction, because when at 3-player, and I don't know whether it's just because I got in everybody's grill and started a fight and, went for the fight, but we did seem to have a lot of fights in every round.
But the problem is, it is a game where once you declare an ambition, everyone has to try and get that ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you declare Warlord, well, you may be winning Warlord with your stack of ships, but me and Adam now need to get second place because there's no points for third place.
No.
So you need to start going, well, I need to get some points from somewhere. So
you got to kick it off, don't you?
You got to kick it off, yeah. Which is what I like about the game as well. It encourages you to, as I said, it encourages you to pivot, because you can be like, well, I'm just going to get some guild cards. Oh shit, I need to get some Warlord cards, otherwise I'm not going to get any freaking points this round.
Yeah. It is a game that's all about reacting. I think you spend like 3/4 of the game reacting to what our other players are doing, whether that's playing the cards or how they're manipulating the map or where they're moving. You're spending a lot of time in this game. I would say about this game, it is very dog eat dog. It is a very aggressive, very nasty game. I know, and in that regard, it is like a war game. You're going to have to be attack people, and you're going to have to take advantage. One of the reasons that it's taken me a little while to get this into my head, but there were points where Adam was attacking me because I was an easy target. Steve was winning, and he couldn't attack Steve. Well, he could attack Steve, but there'd be little gain in that. The best game was to attack me and to keep me down. That I was really no threat to him, but he needed to beat me down so he could get the points so he could combat Steve. But that then puts me in a really bad place, because now I'm so far behind first and second. It is a very aggressive game.
Also, some of those guild cards, so the guild cards generally can either give you a constant ability, but most have an ability where you can discard the card for a one-off power. And some of them are really freaking nasty.
Got 3 ships on the map. Bang! There you go.
Oh,
Have some
no.
of that.
No.
I wouldn't bat an eyelid at that one.
I had the law power, which means I was building extra ships every turn anyway.
Nice.
I ran out of ships in that game.
There's another one that allows you to name a what's it?
One of the resources.
Name a resource.
Yes. No. An ambition. Basically, just straightly name an ambition. Bang! You don't need the leader. You just go, right, I'm having that one. Yeah. That was quite good.
The one that really wound me up was this one. If you attack a city and you destroy a city, you get this thing called outrage, where the people of that resource, obviously that kind of planet, get outraged at you, and you can never use that resource again. You can collect the resource still, and you can get it for the points, but you can't use it because most of these resources can be used as a special bonus. But when you kick off outrage, you lose all the resources of that type, and you lose all your guild cards of that type.
Yeah.
But there's a card which causes outrage for everyone.
No!
And the player that has that card, it's a one-off ability, but they get to choose the resource. So they look around at what everybody's got and go, psychics. And that you go, that's all my fucking guild cards. That's everything I've done to try and get that flipping. There are so many cards in that game that feel like a sucker punch. And it's great when you have that card.
Of course, yes.
It's a wonderful feeling when you go, I'm just going to do. I did that one. It's a really smug feeling. You go, and I'm just going to use this card to do this thing here.
Yeah.
The most erect of dick moves.
Yeah. And it feels great doing it, but when you get that sucker punch and you go, oh no.
Yeah, because it happened to me twice on 2 different cards, completely ruined my plan. As I said, this is why I say you can't plan. So one of it was the trader ambition was quite high scoring. So I had resources aplenty. The basic trade goods resource, loads of them, loads of guild cards. I had it in the bag, and Adam just goes, yeah, all trade goods are getting discarded.
Oh, nice.
That's my entire turn has now been wasted.
Nice. Yeah.
Not like one card play, no, the entire round. 6 cards wasted. And then the other one he had was one where you could move your agents you'd captured into your trophies box.
Yes, you could. Yeah, I had that card. What the hell
It
was
was the
it
press
called?
gang, or it's the.
That's the one. Yeah, you basically become a fascist dictator and just murder everybody. Yeah.
Again, I've been running around the board, blasting spaceships left, right, and centre. I had a good trophy cabinet of broiling ships, and he just went, "Yeah, I'll just bring all these captives I've got in there now. My trophies, because I've shot them."
That's it, and steal it. It's there's lots of moments in that game, and that's it. You've got to be prepared for it. It's dog eat dog. It is a nasty game, and you've got to have that. You've got to have that thick skin and I suppose sportsmanship of just going. And I hate to say it, but it's just a game. It's just you've got to go. I'm going to do this. So be prepared. If you haven't played Arcs and you like the look of it, it's a nasty game, and you will get dicked on, and you will get frustrated. You'll get frustrated by the cards. You'll get frustrated by your inability to steal leader or to put down an ambition that you want.
Interestingly, this game has caused quite a bit of discussion today. When I say think is proper, I think this game deserves a discussion.
Yeah.
As I said, whether it's Game of the Year contender, I'm still not sure, and I need to play it 4-player because it feels like it was designed primarily as a 4-player game.
I would agree with that.
So I need to play it 4-player, but I can't deny I have enjoyed what we've played.
Yeah.
Even if it has been frustrating at times.
Whoa. Step aside, you three. Make way for future Andy. You see, 2 days after we recorded the podcast, I managed to play Arcs at a 4-player count in my local board gaming group, making me infinitely more informed than these 3 pre-industrial troglodytes. And I can happily report that Arcs at a 4-player count is way better than it is, certainly at a 2-player count, because the player interactions are much more frequent, the decisions about where you go and what you do are harder and yet easier at the same time. There's just so much more going on. There's competition for cards, there's competition for space and areas and planets and resources, and there is a lot more, at least there was in our game, chance of outrage, not outcry, where 3 of the 5 resources got completely banned because people just kept blowing up each other's cities, which I'm pretty sure is how the game should be played. Rory's right in that the game is still aggressive. You're going to get attacked, you're going to get invaded, you're going to have your stuff stolen, and you're going to have your plans ruined. And Steve's suggestion that the game was definitely designed as a 4-player, I think is absolutely true. The game came alive, it really did. Having played it at 2, I felt quite flat. Alora was concerned I'd walk away from that experience thinking, yeah, this game's rubbish. It absolutely isn't at 4-player. It is brilliant at 4-player, quite frankly. So if you are going to play Arcs, I would really strongly recommend you play it at a higher player count, just so you get the full experience of just basically dicking around on the board, getting in everybody's way. Everyone will get in your way as well. There's still a frustration of not having the cards you want, and it came into its own in our game. And then all 4 players stole the initiative at least twice, maybe more times during the course of the game, making it that much more competitive. So it's really, really good. If you're going to play it at 4 players. I shall now return to the temporal void from whence I came.
So that was Arcs from Leader Games. Yeah. Let's talk about Dorfromantik, the Duel.
Yes, let's. So from Pegasus Spiele, this has been sent to us from the publisher. This is the 2-player duel version of the Dorfromantik game, the last year's Spiel des Jahres winner, which was a collaborative tile placement game where you're placing tiles as a group, trying to build up forests to score tasks, achievements. You're building rivers, building fields, building towns. This takes this game and it puts it into a 2-player duel. So I think what's happened here is that there was call out, people were asking for like a competitive version of Dorfromantik, and that became a bit of a, not to use like business lingo, but that became a problem statement. How do you take Dorfromantik and make it competitive, right? And I think what they've done here is probably the best solution to that problem statement. So here, You've got.
Did they run the idea at the flagpole?
They ran the idea at the flagpole.
Stick a pin in it.
They stick a pin in it. They got all the low hanging fruit. Okay.
Did a bit of blue sky thinking.
Yeah. Leveraged its synergy.
Right. Okay, stop now. Both players have an identical set of landscape tiles and task tiles. One player, red and blue. One player will play with this in a traditional Dorfromantik style. There will be random draw face down tiles. The other player will have them all face up, arranged in some sort of logical system. So in this case, Steve, as the red player, has got them all face up. I'm blue, face down. Once you've got your initial 3 tasks out, I'm going to draw a tile and say, this is the river one with a bit of house and a bit of forest on it. Steve has to look through his collection until he finds the identical tile. We'll then place it in our respective cities, wherever we want. And we'll build and build and build and build. And at some point, we'll score a task. And you've got to have at least, if ever you go below 3 tasks, you draw another task tile and the opponent has to match you, and you keep going. There are some other things where you've got some new objectives, some special tiles. Once you've unlocked a certain amount of tasks, you can start getting these special to get hearts or photographers in, which give you another way to score points. But that's really it. It's kind of like we're using the same resources, but one player has to search through their stacks to find them. And you're building your Dorfromantik, I'm building my Dorfromantik. Who can do it the most efficiently? Who can do it the best, given the same identical input?
Is the city the same in both cases? Or is it different?
You could build your city identical to mine. It's unlikely that you would.
Why?
Because you will probably
understand.
Yeah, so you've got your... Sorry, Steve, that sounds like you're about to say something more intelligent.
You've got... So you've got hex tiles, and you want them to match in certain places to score these regions. So it's a lot like Carcassonne in a lot of ways. Carcassonne. But what you're trying to do is you will get these objectives, like you must try and get 4 fields together. So you start the game with 3 tiles and you'll all be drawing the same tile. So you're correct. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from both doing exactly the same thing at the same time. But the problem is it only takes 1 tile to be in a different location or rotated in a different position. And all of a sudden everything's different because your connections are different because it's a hex. You're looking at 3 hex tiles to start with. So whereas there seems to be an optimum position to begin with, it's very easy. It's one of those things that one change will cascade and you'll end up with totally different cities at the end of it.
So do you have the same maps or are they different maps?
You have the same... you're not. It's not maps, you're drawing tiles. And of course the way this works is you are drawing the exact same tiles each and you both have exactly the same objectives.
This is why I don't understand what the point of it is.
Did you play Railroad Inc. with us in Bristol at City of Games years ago?
Yes.
So Railroad Inc. works in exactly the same way. You've all got the same dice rolls. You've all got the same maps. But at the end of the game, it's very rare you all end up with exactly the same solution to the problem.
Unless your name is Steve and Amanda, in which case you always do.
Unless your name is Steve and Amanda, which me and Amanda end up with exactly the same maps. But that's what I'm saying. That's a good example because you could end up, if you made all the same decisions, you would end up with exactly the same map and score exactly the same amount of points.
You can see each other's maps, I assume.
Yeah.
You can see each other's maps, but I mean, you're not, to be fair, you're not there going, what's Rory done? I'm going to copy him because that would be stupid because then what's the point in playing?
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. Okay.
But you're going, I think that should go there. And the thing is, as soon as you've placed one tile slightly different, it's then going to cascade and there's no way you can repeat everything. So yes, you're right. You could copy each other. And if your brains work exactly the same way, you can end up with exactly the same map. But your brains would have to, the odds of that happening are slim.
Especially when it's my brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not really looking at your opponent's map much. You're just kind of thinking, I think this would be best here. Right.
It is multiplayer solitaire because what you are doing is only building your map. And it feels more like the Dorfromantik video game from which this is based than the original did. Because the original, you were doing a cooperative game where you're taking turns doing tiles. Now this is only your map and you are trying to get the most points from this.
Okay, because I haven't played the video game.
All
the board game.
it's what I think they call it a bit of a cozy game because you can just plonk along at it for a bit, Now, what also makes it unique for each person is there are, I don't know what they're called in the game, Roy, you might have to code me in here. There's these extra cards which you can unlock, which allows you to build
the special tiles. I don't know if they've got that.
Special tiles. But basically, you can't both have the same set of special tiles either.
Right, so that makes a slight difference. Okay, sure.
Yeah, so like one of them was like the old oak tree, and the old oak tree scores you points for every forest tile that's within 2 of it. So if I take the oak tree, obviously Steve can't. And I forget that there was like one of them might have been like a windmill. So if you've got the big windmill or the Harvest Festival, I might be getting confused with core Dorfromantik here, which gives you points for every field that's nearby. So that's going to differentiate as well. And then photographer was one of them. So when I unlock the photographer, I get a little photographer meeple and stick it on a tile, and every time I place a tile adjacent to it, he can move to that tile and take a photo, and I'll score points for every photo he takes by the end of the game. If I unlock the photographer before Steve does, I'll score more points with my photographer, or Steve might never choose to do the photographer.
Right.
So you do have variation on these. I think there's 5 different special tiles which you unlock, and you unlock those when you complete a task. And I can complete a task before Steve does because I chose to, this tile that had a river and a forest on it, I chose to use it to complete my forest task, whereas Steve used it to add to his river task.
Right.
So I've completed my forest task. That means brilliant. I get an achievement. I get one of those. Now we get another task tile. So I'm now at 3 because Steve didn't complete the river one, or the forest one rather. Because Steve now has 4 task tiles against my 3. And that's another way that you can compete in this, is actually I'm going to push to complete another task tile because that will force you to take another one and another one, and you'll slowly start slipping behind if that happens.
Okay. That makes more sense.
It's a good little game. It doesn't take too long to play.
No.
It gives you that little cozy feel that and it is solo. It's effectively multiplayer solitaire in the most biggest of ways, because you are doing only your thing. You're not affecting anyone else apart from grabbing these special cards first, and you're both working off the same cards. So it's a nice little relaxed solo game with only one major drawback.
Which only one player has.
Yes.
Well, out of 2 players, that's a fairly significant chunk of the players.
It's like,
yeah, but one player doesn't have this problem at all.
So when I'm playing with my face down tiles, I just go, I'm just going to play some Dorfromantik. Whereas Steve is going, what tile is that, Rory? Can you turn it round? Can you show me? It's the 1 house, 2 tree. Okay, give me a second. I'll just go and find it. And obviously
how many tiles are there to choose from?
There's quite a lot.
Yeah, okay.
It gets easier as the game goes along.
Because there's less time to choose from.
But and some of the graphics, and the other thing as well, one person's got blue tiles and one person's got red tiles. So there's like blue cobblestones, red cobblestones. And one card, I forgot this, and they're going, why can I not find the freaking blue card? Oh, because I'm the red player, you div. But it's really frustrating when I'm thinking, I've got the one with the mountain, I've got the one with the trees and the river, but not those houses. Why have I not got those houses?
Because they're a different colour.
So the game takes twice as long as it really should.
Right.
Because one player is constantly searching through it. Now, you can do some things. It does actually say, like, the player who's got them face up should organise them in the way they're going to be easy to find, which the first time you play, you're going like,
what does that look like?
On the second game, you go, right, I'm going to stick all my river tiles together, then all the railway tiles, then all the town tiles, then everything else. So at least I've got a category system I can go through and use them as like an order of priority. But yeah, it turns what should be a quick, simple game into a pain in the arse. It really does.
but going back to my problem statement here, I do think this is the best way to make Dorfromantik a competitive game. You go, you've got that chill zen. I'm building this city, this whatever, and you're doing it. And how can we really compete? We can't just play. Well, I'll play Dorfromantik on this side of the table. You play it on that side. Who's got the highest score? Because what tiles you draw in what order really impacts what you can build. So it has to be the same tiles in the same order to really see who's the best at kind of city planning. in this way, and that I think it's a really lovely way of doing it. I really enjoyed Dorfromantik, and I really enjoyed my time playing Dorfromantik the Duel. I still think I quite prefer just playing normal Dorfromantik. I don't feel the need to add a level of competition to it.
It's weird. Yeah, it does what it needs to do. It makes a competitive game out of that co-op game. It's just, that faff level just really put a bit of a damper on it.
But I think we talked about this when we played it. I think while we were playing it, I think we talked about the faff. But afterwards, once we finished and we've done the score, we were actually talking about how enjoyable it was. I don't really, as much, I know the faff is there, but it wasn't a big deal.
I know what you mean. It's a weird one.
It is a weird one. But it's a really nice game. I think if you like Dorfromantik and you do play it 2 players and you want to spice it up a little bit, I think this is a great addition. And if you want to explore Dorfromantik a bit more, great. But I think the standard Dorfromantik is just a cracking game. Sid
will ask, who is this game for? And I think this does have... I prefer the actual gameplay of this to the standard Dorfromantik, though.
So you're the other way to it? Okay.
I'm the other way. I prefer the competitive nature. I prefer the fact that I'm trying to get like a 9-length railroad before you do, so I can score loads of points. I don't know. I just preferred that. Although I enjoyed that's effective. That was even more solitaire. The cooperative solitaire, really, wasn't it? Of the original. But what I didn't like about that was it was just like a score attack, wasn't it? It was a game where you had to play it as a campaign and score more points every time to unlock boxes to get more stuff. Yeah. And this was just a game you could get out of the box and play. You didn't have to bother about, what did we unlock last time? I felt like the original Dorfromantik was a way of wasting time, whereas this was a game.
That's really interesting. Yeah. But I suppose, to answer your question, who is this game for? I think Dorfromantik the Duel is for people who have enjoyed Dorfromantik. I think if you're after a 2-player game, this wouldn't float to the top of my recommendations of great 2-player games, although it is a very good 2-player game.
That's because the air drag from Sky Team is pushing it right down.
Yeah.
Sky Team is pretty good.
But I think it's a good 2-player game, but I think it's a good Dorfromantik 2-player game.
Yeah. Right then, folks, that's Dorfromantik the Duel from Pegasus Spiele. We've got a few minutes left, so should we ask a couple of questions?
Okay. Well, there's a couple that have floated to the top here. Now, whether you want to say that's cream or poo, that's up to you.
Well, I think it's important that we make this distinction.
I shall let listeners decide. Steve actually, or one of you, asked today, I think it was today when you posted on our social media, which we think is quite a good question, actually. Which game, mechanism or type, do you love but are just rubbish at?
For me...
I think I can go first on that
go,
and say
lead the way.
Deck building. I quite enjoy a deck builder.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm quite surprised.
Well, it depends on it, because I quite like things like Clank. And I don't know if you'd call Netrunner a deck builder. I don't know. Is it?
No, that's deck construction.
Right. Oh well. Sorry.
It's completely different type of building. That is.
It is completely different type of game. So Netrunner is your deck construction. You build it outside the game. Deck builder is when you build your deck of cards in the game.
That makes sense. Either way, I'm shit at both. So. I'm more shit at things like Netrunner, though. More shit at that. Because I don't know what it is about that kind of game. I just cannot understand how to chain the cards together. I just can't do it. My brain does not work like that.
Yeah.
Now, in deck builders, I realise that's a slightly different idea. So in Clank, you've just got to remember what you played and so on and so forth. You try and just basically stack your deck in the favour of not having shit cards. But for stuff like Netrunner, so maybe a deck construction game is probably more applicable here, I don't really understand what I'm doing. I'm not going to lie.
Sid says the same things about deck builders. He likes them, but he struggles with them as well. But I would say a great game that you should try. and I love it, so I'll happily come round and play it, is Ruthless from Alley Cat Games, which is a fantastic deck builder, pirate-themed deck builder. But the way you're doing it, it's like a deck of cards. So you've got different suits, and they've just got different numbers on. So you've got Captain, Quartermaster, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Mm-hmm. So like building your deck is actually quite easy because you just go, I'm going to build this suit and concentrate on these numbers because these numbers work well together and this suit has that suit synergy. And by laying it out in the style of a normal deck of playing cards, and then when you fight each other at the end of the round, you fight each other in poker style hands. So you go, right, if I've got a full house, well then that's good. But if I've got a straight flush, that's even better. Mm. So because it takes deck building and mixes it in with poker and a normal player, I find it's really good, really straightforward way to build your hand and then to do well with it.
Okay. I may try it.
What were you about to say, Steve?
I've forgotten. The game I love and are terrible at is definitely the old Dudes on the Map style game. Twilight Imperium, Blood Rage, Game of Thrones, Ankh. I absolutely love these games. Like board game collections full of these things. I keep thinking I've got a great strategic mind. I love this kind of game. No, I'm absolutely terrible at them. I always overextend my forward forces. I always don't defend my bases enough. And someone wins by either turtling or just ploughing for the map, whereas I try and take a balanced approach and I do absolutely terrible at it. Every freaking time.
Well, I remember you being particularly good last time we played Blood Rage. But
that was a bit unfair on you because you two had never played Blood Rage before, and I should have stopped and started a game when you'd realised that you didn't understand what on earth the two of you were doing.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's definitely a game you need to play before you can play.
Yeah.
See, and for me, it's just engine builders. I love the idea of an engine builder, of the clever manipulation of resources, turning this resource into that resource and then doing that thing with the other thing and that. I love the idea of it. I'm just terrible at them. Absolutely terrible. And I get really upset playing an engine builder when I do badly at it.
You played Furnace?
Yeah, I didn't like it. Okay. Well, no, I liked it, but I was rubbish at it.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Right then, folks, I think that's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider, and we forgot to mention our sponsor today, which is Kienda. Don't forget, we have a link in our show notes. If you fancy grabbing yourself a board game, which, let's be fair, you do if you listen to this, pop onto that link and you'll be able to get yourself a little discount. Also, please give us a review on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, share, everything to do to help the algorithm. You can find us all over the internet. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Board Game Geek Guild 2726. So until next time, happy gaming.
Ta-ra.
Bye-bye.